Hey, sports fans, this is Chris Berman Flaherty here with your TFL Week 2 preview show. We're looking forward to a big week as we have a couple of 1-0 versus 1-0 games to see which team will take an early control of their division. We have some 0-1 versus 0-1 games to see which teams can avoid being part of the toilet bowl discussions. So let's go ahead and get to the games. Game number one pits ED versus MVH. Certainly in this game, as Josh Allen goes, that's how MVH goes. They went well last week, even though they lost, but they scored well. And CBS seems to think that that's the case this week. That Josh Allen's is gonna drive them to an 89-86 victory over ED, dropping both teams to a 1-1 start. As we look at it, this is really a battle of the running backs because neither team has a great running back core. Neither team has great depth at running back, and we really think it's going to come down to that contest right there. Which running back tandems, since both teams start receivers at the other three positions, which running back tandems are going to win? We really see Leonard Fournette and Devin Singletary having a good week this week and outperforming Alvin Kamara, who I guess was injured last week and didn't play as well. And then they're starting Kareem Hunt. ED is starting Kareem Hunt, which is kind of a hit or miss depending on whether he gets TDs. But we really see the MVH pulling out the relatively easy victory with a 6-point win. Game number two pits Girls on the Beach against No Way in Hell Hall. This is a two sides of the coin. You have No Way in Hell Hall, had a great week in week one, got a victory. Girls on the Beach, let's be honest, they were crappy. Christian McCaffrey didn't play as well as as the old Christian McCaffrey. Stephon Diggs had a good week, but again, Dak Prescott did not do well early on, even before he got hurt, and now he is out for at least 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, depending on who you talk to. The interesting thing with Girls on the Beach is they had Trevor Lawrence that they drafted as their backup quarterback, but when Prescott goes down, they made a move to pick up Jared Goff, and they're starting them this week. Why wouldn't you start Trevor Lawrence if that's who you picked to be the backup? Or why wouldn't you just drafted Jared Goff if that's who you were going to play anyway? Now I'm not gonna go against anything that Beach does, because when he plays me, he typically picks up a player and that player goes crazy and I lose the game because of it. So I'm never gonna question the thought process of Girls on the Beach owner Scott Beach, but again, I think that they might come back to hunt them, and not if they don't start Trevor Lawrence this week. And CBS sees this as an easy 83-74 victory over Girls on the Beach. We actually agree at TFL. We see No Way in Hell Hall moving to 2-0 and winning by 8 points. Let's go to game number 3. This is G-Men versus the Mooners. And oh wait, I'm sorry. Oh, I was just told we have a caller. Let me see. Yep, we do have a caller. Caller, go ahead.
So I says to him, "Get your own monkey." Right? Am I right? I'm sorry. Am I on? Excuse me. I was looking for Chris Berman Flaherty, and I got redirected here to the Finnegan line. Hopefully, you can help me out a little bit. First time, I guess. Love the new format. Love the Gregorian chants overnight and the easy listening all day. Rock on, baby. Anyway, I have a couple questions, so let's hope you can help me out with. First, who is the worst 1-0 team in the league this year after week 1? And second, how many times has someone had the lowest and highest overall score in a season? And obviously I'm thinking of Waller, and it certainly is not going to have any chance in hell getting the highest score, but just out of idle curiosity, I was wondering. Thanks a lot. I'll hang up and listen. Rock on.
Great questions there, and thanks for that caller for calling in. All right, let's start with the first question real quick. The easy answer, if you just heard me talk about it, is ED. Not a strong team, doesn't have the depth, didn't have a great first week, although they did pull the victory out because they played Girls on the Beach. But that's the easy one. I'm going off in a little bit different direction on this. The team that I think is probably the answer to the caller's question is actually Hang Ten. And here's what I'm thinking. Yes, they did score 90 points. They did get a victory this last week. So congratulations to them. But if you really look at them, they're really a two-player team. Justin Herbert and Cooper Kupp are going to drive them as far as they can possibly go. Nick Chubb's there, but Nick Chubb can be on again, on off again. I mean, he's always get the yardage, but he doesn't always get the TDs. But Justin Herbert and Cooper Kupp are it. And really, once you go past those three players, there's no depth at all on that team. They've got they've got players that are number threes at best, starting maybe number twos at the most on good weeks. My goodness gracious, this week they're starting Melvin Gordon and Damian Harris as their second running back and their flex player. So I really look at Hang as the worst of the 1-0 teams. Doesn't mean Hank's not good. Doesn't mean they won't win a lot of games. Just as I think ED is going to bounce back and Hang's going to be the one that is going to drop back a little bit. I think both teams are going to end up at 6 and 7, so it really doesn't matter. In both, or six, I'm sorry, 6 and 8 doesn't really matter. Now, the second question, that's a very interesting one, and you wouldn't expect that happens a bunch, and surprisingly, it doesn't happen very often. It's actually only happened once in the history of SOFA, and that was back in 2020. It's not surprising the team it was. It's the Gronks. In that year, the Gronks scored both the highest single game score at 140 and the lowest single game score at 42. So not surprising. Now, as I said, that's the only time it's ever happened. The other interesting fact as we did the research on this is the amount of times that the same team gave up the most points and gave up the least points. So, as an example, in 2015, No Way in Hell Hall, they allowed the most points in the year to Hang 10 at 139 points, and they gave up the least points, so they had the least points scored against them by ED at 29. And that's actually happened 4 times in the history. It happened in 2013 with the Cretans, who had ED at 149 and played G-Men when they only scored 36. It happened in 2012 with Hootie, who also had the most points scored against them that year of 149 by ED, and the record of only 27 points by No Way in Hell Hall, which I think actually happened in the Toilet Bowl, if I remember right. But the interesting thing there is I never realized that ED had back-to-back years where they had the highest single game score at 149. And then it also happened way back in 2007 with the Fat, where they had the most points scored against MVH or by MVH at 138, and the least points scored at the second lowest total points by Hang 10 at 28. One last note that I thought that was interesting that we noticed was back in 2010, Craig Kingsbury's Wolverine team, they actually had a unique thing that happened. They scored the least points. They only scored 40 in one game, but they also gave up the most points or had the most points scored against them, which was the highest score ever scored by Girls on the Beach at 156. So there you go, caller. Hope that helps. Hope that you find that interesting. All right, let's go back to the games. Game number 3 is G-Men versus the Mooners. This is the blowout special of the week. Both CBS and TFL agree this is going to be a blowout. G-Men just has so much depth, especially at running back, that which is the actual opposite of the Mooners, whose depth is at wide receiver. They really need in order for the Mooners to have a chance, they really need CeeDee Lamb to bounce back, which is not going to be easy with Dak Prescott gone. They need Justin Jefferson to continue to get those 30-point weeks. They absolutely need that. And they need Tom Brady to pull his head out of his ass and actually have a game, although he's playing New Orleans, which has always been his Achilles heel. So we really look at this as the blowout of the week. Also, TFL actually sees an even a bigger margin with G-Men going to 2-0 with a 99.8 to 85.5 victory. So congratulations, G-Men, for going 2-0. Game number 4 is Hang 10 versus Your Huckleberry. Both teams won last week. Both teams are sitting at 1-0. CBS sees this as a victory for Hang, but as you heard, we don't think that's the case here at TFL. We don't see that. Again, Hang's not a bad team. We don't want to discount them, but we don't believe that they're going to continue this run of success. Certainly, as we said, they've got Herbert, they got Cooper Kupp. Both are going to have big weeks. They probably will score right around 90 potentially again this week because of that, because of the matchups. But I think the interesting thing with this game to watch is the double matchup. We have in the sofa game, you have Hang Ten's Justin Herbert against Anya Huckleberry's Patrick Mahomes, and those two quarterbacks are playing each other in the real NFL game. Doesn't happen very often that we have this double matchup, and really that's going to be the key: is which one of those is going to outscore the other, and that's the team that's going to win. We think Patrick Mahomes will outscore Justin Herbert, but the other, and so therefore we really see that this is going to be a Huckleberry win, a very close one. Actually, it's we put it down as a margin of 1 point, but it was really in our scoring. It's 93.1 to 92.4, so it's less than a point. So Huckleberry will pull this one out and they'll win, move to 2-0. Game number 5 is Hootie and the Blowouts and the Fat. These are two 0-1 teams, both of them looking to rebound. Hootie had a great week last week, just played a team that's outscored them by 5. The Fat really didn't look very good, and they had Najee Harris get hurt, who they say is going to play this week. I don't think he's going to play, or if he plays, he's going to be very limited with his ankle. Hootie had an awful week by Austin Eckler. He needs them to return to form, and obviously losing Elijah Mitchell for 8 weeks with his knee, that's going to hurt them, although they have decent depth. The key question here is quarterback. You have Jalen Hurts and Trey Lance. Trey Lance is basically Jalen Hurts with at a much younger age. Jalen Hurts has become a star player. Trey Lance wants to be that same type of player, passing and running. Will Trey Lance turn things around? We do think they will. CBS saw this as a close game with Hootie winning 90 to 86. TFL sees this as a Hootie victory also, but a little bit bigger margin. We see it Hootie by 9. And our last game. Oh my goodness, sorry, tired. This is actually our yawner game of the week, or as we like to call it, the toilet bowl preview game. Bum, bum, bum. CBS sees this as a share victory. This is Louisville Share versus the Halfway House. CBS shows this as a share victory, 84-81. Honestly, we'll be amazed if the two teams combined can score 80 points. If at least certainly they're not going to score over 100. But it's just not two teams that look on paper like they should be decent, but when you delve down into it, there's the big questions. The key questions is again the whole Green Bay Pack. They're playing Chicago this week. Will they turn it around? Who knows? We don't see them, even if they do, being able to score much. You've got on the Halfway House side, you need Lamar Jackson to run the dang ball, score some touchdowns on it, running the ball. Derrick Henry looked okay last week, but wasn't the Derrick Henry that we're used to seeing. And he really wasn't playing a strong defense or a strong run defense. So we're not as optimistic with regards to the scoring. But we also definitely are not optimistic of Louisville Share pulling out a victory. We're going totally against CBS, and we see this as a halfway house victory by 2 points, 89.3 to 87.9. So not quite 2 points, but we definitely see this as a halfway house victory. So there you go. Tune in next Tuesday for the results show. Think about those questions. Bring your questions with you to the show. We love taking calls. Would love to hear from you and hear what your thoughts are. Have a wonderful weekend. Good luck to everybody. Bye.